Hi everyone, welcome to Connecting and Stuff, a podcast where we take a topic from our work life, our corporate life, and try to have a really light-hearted, fun conversation about it. And talking about corporate life, not all of us are, a working professional in a way that a employee works. So not all of us are employee, and especially in India and a lot of other countries, the startup culture is booming a lot. And I thought maybe we should have a conversation about startup as well, because a lot of young professionals and even uh, really experienced professional, they have started talking about startup, they have launched their own startups. So I thought maybe this time I'll talk about this topic. And to have this conversation, I have invited Nikhil Kumar. Nikhil Kumar, I'll give you a quick introduction about him. He's a co-founder and CEO of this company called InMaking. He's an ex-growth marketer at Growth School, which is a really popular marketing learning platform in India. And he's always hungry to learn new things. And one really important thing about him is he's one of the most viewed writers on Quora in personal finance and entrepreneurship, business and credit cards. And the really important thing, which is important for this episode as well, is he has knack for startups. And this is the perfect segue to our topic. But before that, I would like to roll the red carpet for Nikhil to share a little bit about himself, or if he likes to add anything before we go into topics.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. I think this is a great way I can share my views and everything with the people. So I'm Nikhil. I have worked with startups, early stage, well-funded, highly funded startups in my whole career. So entrepreneurship is something that is really close to me, and obviously marketing being my professional domain. So I'm happy to share a lot of things about startups or marketing in general. And I also had my startup, I think in 2017, and which went where I was, 100% involved. It was not a side hustle or something. So yeah, I've learned a lot there as well. So happy to share anything.
So I guess we can start with the question. Now, since I am not an expert at startup. I often have a lot of questions when people talk about how they launched their startup, what was their initial journey, and I'm really interested in those initial bits. So I'll start with a really basic question, which is how difficult or easy is it to register a business in India? So I want to talk about not just your emotional journey of starting a business, but also the bureaucracy stuff in India, because I often feel bureaucracy part is really difficult to manage. The paperworks are really difficult. So what is your experience, and do you have any suggestion for new entrepreneurs?
Sure. So I think right now it's really easy. In 2010 or something, there used to be a lot of paperwork, but as I think India went more digital, introducing Digital India and all those stuff, you can actually register your company in one day.
Wow.
And whenever any central government thing is considered, like private limited thing or having a GST registration, those processes are really good and very fast. But when it comes to the local bureaucracy or suppose I'll give you an example of Bangalore. We have a BBMP, same like Mumbai has their own municipality and all those things.
Yeah.
There it gets little difficult because one thing, they are not very digital. Second is no one is highly monitoring them, like what's happening on the local area. So suppose you want to start a restaurant or any food startup, so it will actually get more difficult to obtain those licenses, such as trade license or FSI license. It can be little difficult. Obviously, some people will expect you to pay a little extra and get the work done easily. So if you are a tech startup, you are completely safe. Just register your private limited and or LLP with MCA, which is Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and it's really easy in that way. But if you are more operational based, where you need more licenses, it can be difficult.
Yeah. So it depends business to business.
Yeah,
And you mentioned for tech startups, it's quite easier than people who are, sort of opening a shop, retail
correct.
shop, or those kind of things.
Yeah,
Yeah, great. I mean, you also mentioned it's a 1 day process. So is
right.
it like an online process where you register yourself?
So you would obviously need a help of company secretary.
Hmm.
You need to hire that. It's a rule actually that you have
Oh.
to appoint someone, a CA as well as a CS, and they will take care of all those stuff. So because they work really hard and get that license right from the
Hmm.
government, so government kind of trusts them that they are doing the right thing. So you have
Okay.
to appoint, they'll take care of all those paperwork and everything. So registering a company is something you cannot do it yourself.
Hmm.
You even if you visit the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, max you can do is I think check the name if it is available.
Hmm.
Apart from that, you will need a company secretary.
Perfect. This is great. And I understand why this process is there because we have a huge population. If we don't have these laws in place, every person would go on and register their business. If the process is also online, I'm not sure if it's online and offline process, but however, I mean, people will go and start their business, launch their business. So yeah, it makes sense why this law is in place.
It will become
Um,
like a, call in college days, like if you think about something, you immediately book a domain.
yeah.
So it will become like that, and that's
Yeah.
not good for the country, I guess.
Absolutely. And I have heard, I'm not sure about which countries, but in
Mhm.
India, launching a tech startup is pretty or more easier than a lot of other tier one countries. So,
Mhm.
which is a really good thing. And I think that's one of the motivations why we are seeing so many new tech startups, which are actually really good. So I'm really glad that I'm part of this country and seeing this change happening. Um, so you mentioned Bangalore. I want to talk about other cities as well. I mean, in your opinion and in your experience talking to other entrepreneurs, or I mean, reading about it, how do you feel? I live in New Delhi,
Okay.
and I don't see a lot of tech startups here. The one that are there are in Gurgaon, which is basically
Mhm.
NCR out of
Mhm.
Delhi. Not a lot of tech startups in Delhi. Then the same, not the same, but we can say a lot similar things about Mumbai as well. You don't see a lot of tech startups there, but Bangalore, they are full of it. Tech
Yeah.
startups in every gully.
Yeah.
So why is that? Why we are not seeing more tech startups in rest of the states? Why Bangalore is dominating in this field?
I think maybe because it is more into the culture or a work culture in Bangalore that, we see a lot of techies.
Mhm.
Uh, we call Bangalore a Silicon Valley of India, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of it's inbuilt in the culture that there are more techies, so obviously more ideas will come in tech, more tech startups will, emerge from Bangalore. So I think that's the only reason. Apart from that, I think Mumbai may you will find more of fintech startups. Delhi may more of operational based startups. So I think it totally depends on the city culture.
Yeah, and I also believe it's also become the perception of the youth.
Hmm.
So I often hear from people, the young ones who are just finishing their college and about to start their career. They often say the same thing. I'll move to Bangalore and I'm sure I would find a really good opportunity. So you have lived in Bangalore. What other cities have you lived in? Because I really want to compare two cities with you when it
Okay,
comes
so
to living and working.
schooling and career wise, I have been in Bangalore. I was in Delhi, I think from 2000 to 2000, no, sorry, 1998 to 2003 or something.
Mhm.
Uh,
So your
that
childhood,
Yeah, it was in Delhi.
okay.
So my dad is in Indian Air Force, and we have been traveling across the country.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so I was in Delhi, but I cannot really say anything about the culture of Delhi because obviously, I don't have those memories, and and
And also, you were an army kid, so your life would have been the exposure that you got is very different from the
correct,
exposure I got.
correct.
Yeah, I understand. So yeah, but in any case, I mean, you have seen the lifestyle of Delhi people is very
Mm,
different, because if you notice, all the shops in Delhi, they open after 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. and
okay.
sometimes even at 12 p.m. in the noon. They don't open shops before that. But
Mhm.
versus in other cities like Mumbai, I noticed the shops are open after 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. So they start working. And not just the big shops, but the small ones like uh, those stationery shops or those parchun ki dukan where you go for
Mhm.
doodh and all these things.
Yeah.
So these shops are open, but in Delhi, this is very rare for a shop to open before 10 a.m. So I think Delhi people, we have a really laid back culture that we'll open the shop in the late morning, we'll and then we'll also close it before 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.
Mhm.
and but we'll make our profit because the population is huge.
Yeah.
Versus in other cities, people have this hustle culture that no,
Mhm.
we'll have to hustle, we'll have to open as soon as possible so that we don't lose even one client or
Yeah.
one customer. And it shows. I mean, I noticed this a lot. And in Delhi, there is a lot of like I mean, I am a middle class person, but I have seen a lot of uh, generational rich people. So
Mhm.
people who have like rich parents and their grandparents were also rich. So you
Mhm.
can see that in their behavior, that
Mhm.
these people are generationally rich and they are obnoxious. They are really, I mean, they were not raised well. That I can say. But versus in other cities like Bangalore or Mumbai, you would find really humble people. I mean, they are doing really good in their careers,
Right.
but they are always really down to earth. They are very humble, soft
Mhm.
spoken. So I don't know why. What is wrong with Delhi?
Uh, I think about the opening shop somewhere around 10 or 12. I think it may be a smart move, high demand wala thing.
Yeah.
That the window is open only for some hours. Go get as I mean many thing as many as possible things. As in
Mm.
you know, I think, and it is full of I think what Marwari class people, and
Mm.
so they are really good at with business sense and everything. Maybe
Mm.
it is a smart move of increasing that demand. About the kind of the humbleness of I've seen that when I compare North India to South India, we as in South India has more humble people
Mm.
comparatively. Uh, I don't know why, but yeah, that difference is obviously there.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of people say the same thing. North Indians are very obnoxious. But
Mhm.
I personally love Delhi as a city a lot. And one of the really important reasons is metro. I love
Yeah.
Delhi metro. I can go anywhere. I don't need to depend on any rickshaws, any autos, any cab, because cab services are really pathetic.
Mhm.
Auto services are negligible
Mhm.
in Delhi. But in Mumbai, those people, they mostly depend on local or autos, so auto services are really great.
Mhm.
Fortunately, what about Bangalore? Does Bangalore, I mean, Bangalore has a huge traffic problem, but
Yeah,
how do
yeah.
people commute?
It's really bad. I mean, most of the people depend on Ola, Uber. Um,
Mm.
you won't find cabs easily, especially on the the busy hours.
Mm.
Suppose you have to reach office by now 10 o'clock. You start booking by 8:30 in the morning, so that after so many cancellations and waiting time, finally you will get a cab in like half an hour or 1 hour. So that's really bad. Apart from that, roads are bad, traffic is bad. So how Bangalore people manage this thing is by living, in the vicinity of their offices.
Ooh.
So if you change your office, you have to change your home as well in Bangalore. So it is like that, so that you can skip that travel part and everything. So that's how people are managing. So it is getting crowded and crowded. I mean, year after year. So metro is there, but I think it has a very low connectivity. Now they are working on expanding those metro lines. So I think that will help in future.
Great. I mean, I have a story here. So I recently been talking to one of my colleagues, and they asked me. I mean, they don't live in India; they live in US,
Okay.
and they asked me, so how is pollution in Delhi? Which was so weird for someone to ask, and I had no answer. So I looked at my mobile, and it shows me AQI, and the
Mhm.
AQI was 500 at the point. I just show them the screen, it's 500. It's like, wow, it's still 500. So now this person, he visited India, Delhi to be specific, in 2018 or 2019, before COVID.
Okay.
And that time also the situation was really bad.
Mhm.
And he said one thing which stayed with me, which is, there are so many amazing startups, tech startups in India, why nobody is working on it?
Mhm.
So I mean, for like 5-10 seconds, I was thinking how to answer this question politely and without sounding that I am
Mhm.
living in a country where the politicians are really big problem and the government is not up to the par. I mean, they
Mhm.
have all the means and the resources, but corruption is a really bad thing for us to
Mhm.
grow. And I can say the same thing about Bangalore as well. So I mean, if I don't know if you noticed that or not, but a while back I noticed a campaign by Zomato, I believe. They were filling in the potholes on the
Mhm.
road so that the delivery guys, they don't face any problem and the deliveries become easy. And the
Mhm.
comment section was, I mean, I always read comments for such posts, and
Yeah.
it was bizarre. People were like, this is what happens when the tech companies or the startup companies are making more profit,
Mhm.
and they want to work to improve the culture, and
Mhm.
government is just sleeping and doing nothing.
Right.
So it was very weird for me to answer that question. And since you mentioned it's difficult, the traffic is bad and so on,
Mhm.
this conversation, I just got reminded of that conversation. So what do you think? I mean, is it okay, or is it a good thing for startup companies, not startup companies, but other companies, to start fixing things? What should have been a government's responsibility?
Obviously, it should have been government's responsibility. I have closely worked with, so my previous startup, my own startup was in government tech.
Hmm.
So I've closely worked with, noticing what happens in government offices and all those things. So taking, so taking initiative is the last resort that becomes kind of, the last resolution. Uh,
Yeah.
for example, I'll give you one example. So just outside of our society, the road has been bad for 2 years.
Mm.
So now these three societies came together and they start building the road. Uh, Even after a lot of complaints, I mean, no one came out, and it depends on the local. The problem is also with the voting thing.
Mm.
They don't see who's the local, representative of that area who would benefit. Sorry, who would really work on things, but
Mm.
they say कि ठीक है, Prime Minister is Modi ji, so I'll vote for BJP in
Yeah.
this particular area as well. So that becomes a huge problem. I think people need to be more educated how to select their leaders.
Yeah.
Uh, Whereas I have been to some places, for example, so there are two parts of HSR. One is Harloor, but there's the main 27th main. So your audience from Bangalore will know. Uh, so the main HSR, 27th main and everything, that is very well developed.
Mm.
The potholes are fixed very quickly. You will see, even if there is a what very few potholes, you will see a whole road being
Yeah.
built again, constructed again. Whereas our area, which is also a very what a source of connectivity. So they basically connect Sarjapur to the main HSR. So even then, just that, the constituents, what we say, the area, MLA or something, or someone is different. So this area is very pathetic in those terms. So now people are coming up with, contributing money and getting things done.
Oh.
So this is the last resort which startups take. In Bangalore, I think there is one more guy known as Pothole Raja. So
Nice.
it's actually a sad story why he started this. So basically, he goes, and fixes the potholes himself. And people, he has, I think, Instagram or Facebook page. People go and, say,
Donate.
here is the pothole
Oh,
which is causing lot of accidents. So
I
actually, he
hope he
lost.
gets donation as well.
I'm not sure. I mean, I have not been following that, but he actually lost someone due to the pothole. So after that, he started it. Even I have been into an accident because of pothole. So the situation is really bad in
Yeah.
terms of road construction and all that in Bangalore.
Yeah, I can understand. So it's really bad. I mean, I always bicker about this with my sister,
Hmm.
and I tell her, so we pay all kind of different tax. If you buy a
Correct.
car, you pay road tax, right? And even if you are traveling from one state to another, you pay toll tax and all kind of these taxes, right? So I often talk to her, if we see potholes and if we experience pothole and
Hmm.
we end up having some, I mean, so for example, if you're driving and you experience pothole, and the least kind of impact that you get is some damage to your car, and
Correct.
that can be really expensive, so we should get some reimbursement out
Yes.
of our taxes, because we paid our tax, we did our due diligence, but
Yeah.
government did not do their job. So we should get some reimbursement with our loss,
Yeah.
even if it's like it's a materialistic loss or a health problem that occurred because of this thing. So I often joke about this with my sister, but I don't think this is ever going to happen. Just an
Even
idea.
yeah, even I talk a lot. So we feel, that feeling, right? When in your payslip income tax itna has been deducted.
Yeah, it hurts.
So you you have been paying, like, lakhs of taxes, and
Yeah,
where is it going? And one thing is, I think blockchain can solve this. I want to know where did my money go? Did it go
yeah.
in salary of some employee? That's okay. Did it go into a construction of a flyover or anything? I would want to know, and I would love to know. And whenever I'm maybe passing that road, passing that flyover, I'll feel proud that, my contribution is there.
Yeah.
So
0.0001% is my contribution.
yeah. So I would love to know, but I think blockchain will solve this. I'm very bullish on the blockchain as a technology, if not the whole Web3 space. But uh, yeah, keeping fingers crossed.
Transparency is really important,
Yeah.
and blockchain can get us that. And I mean, if we talk about how our parents were raised, they
Mhm.
were often I mean, the way they were raised was do your work, do your job, but don't ask difficult questions.
Correct.
And but our generation and upcoming generation, they are very fortunate that they are going to see this transition,
Mhm.
because we have been asking this question, where is our tax going? But our parents, they
Mhm.
just paid their taxes, and they knew corruption is happening, and they accepted it. 50% of the money that you are paying in taxes is corruption money, and 50% will be used. So you
Yeah.
have roads, okay, you can drive, but it will also have potholes. So accept
Correct.
it. You'll get electricity, but
Yeah.
not 24 hour. You'll get 20 hour, 4 hours. You will get outage for no reason, no explanation. So all
Yeah.
those things. But I'm glad that our generation and the coming generation, they are asking questions.
Yeah. We are more
And
connected. So yeah.
yeah, great. I mean, coming back to the topic, I think we went on a different journey there. I- what are the things that you were scared of when you launched your first startup? How scary was it, and how did you overcome that fear? What questions you had, and did you have any mentors to help you,
Mhm.
or how was your journey?
So I was very young at that point of time, 22 or 23, I guess.
Hmm.
You don't have so many responsibilities. You are like ठीक है, मतलब there is a lot of time to get back on track. So initially it's purely motivation. uh, you are motivated कि कुछ करना है, कुछ करते हैं, right? And you just start it off. You don't think about a long term strategy. uh, you build that website, book that domain, start running ads. So that's the benefit I have as a marketer, that I can uh, experiment many things at very less time. So yeah, that was there, and after some point of time, we felt like we need an expert guidance. So we had Prateek Panda as our advisors. He is currently, I think, in Philo, and he has been one of my ex bosses. So if you had good relations with people, in your previous company, which we usually don't hear, but they will actually help a lot. So Prateek was the co-founder of AppNox. He was my direct, reporting manager there. So even though I worked only for I think 3 months at AppNox, but we built that relationship, and later he came as an advisor. So being young, you need an advisor. So look out if anyone is ready to help you in that sense. And motivation plays an important factor there. You have very less fear. But when we compare it to, now I am what 28. Now I
I like
have
the fact you took 2 seconds to think how old are you.
yeah. so now I lead a healthy life, and healthy is costly. Now if I start something, when I was 22, I was okay with even 5,000, 10,000 rupees as an income. कि frugality में जी लेंगे, but now it's more like इतना तो चाहिए ही to live that healthy life. Then you have built a certain lifestyle. So I'm talking monetary wise, that you become more cautious about things. Uh, uh, you have saved a lot of money over the years, that you start using that. So that fear comes in. What if it doesn't work? What is the RO? So there are very high chances that your ROI will be negative or zero when you start something. So when you start, matlab, as you age, you kind of compare that motivation versus fear. If motivation is higher, you will take that step. If that fear is higher, you may not take that step. So it really depends upon what is your risk capability, and all those things are there.
So, do you think it will be difficult for, in general, talking, and in your opinion, to be honest, not a fact for sure,
Yeah.
but do you think it's difficult for a person who, say, is married in his 30s, have kids, to launch a startup versus a person who has no family to support? I mean, they have a family, but the family doesn't depend on
Yeah.
this person financially. So, do you think that's true for people who have
Yes,
like
that's actually very true, because you have kids, you have to pay their fees, school
Mm.
fee, and even if, and I mean, nowadays I think both the partners are working,
Yeah.
right? But when you got together, when you planned a kid, it was a what strategic decision. I don't know the right word. You calculate a lot of things, how to raise a kid, what will be the cost and everything. I guess a lot of people do that, especially in tier one cities. But yeah, if you see an example of the founder of Flatheads,
Mm.
who came in Shark Tank season 2.
Mm.
So he had tears in his eyes about, he's not able to support his family. I think more than that, it was about that his runway was about to get over.
Mm.
And so you kind of struggle between your dreams uh, and your expectations versus your responsibilities.
Yeah.
Those come into the picture, and obviously you cannot run away from the responsibilities. So you will choose responsibilities with a broken heart. So yeah, that's how it is. It's really difficult as you age. So everyone should try, doing startup as early as possible. But there's also a benefit that some people like, uh, if you are into more, VC intensive startup, by the time you are 35 or 30, you will have a lot of connects.
Yeah.
You will have a lot of saving to survive for at least, let's say, an year to survive without any salary. So I think in that sense, it's also beneficial. But yeah, you cannot run. But if your startup goes down, you'll have to start again with a zero at the age of 30 or 35. So
Yeah.
that can be difficult.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of variables you can add to the story. I mean, this is one story or one example we discussed. But
Yeah,
as you mentioned, when you grow in your career, you also make a lot of connections.
correct.
So maybe, I mean, we always assume, and this is something, if you follow Ankur Wariku, he also suggests never leave your job to
Mhm.
start a startup.
Yeah.
Split your time in 80-20, then 50-50, and then 20-80 between your job and your startup,
Mhm.
before you finally leave your job for good and then start focusing on your startup the full time.
Right.
And as you grow in your career, you also make relevant connection. And
Mhm.
I believe when you are young, it's very young, as in even right now, I've been working for 5 years. I sometimes ask myself this question: do I really want to do this for coming 20 years of my life, or do I
Mhm.
want to start thinking about something else that I would enjoy? Because doing one thing for a really long time, it gets really boring.
Right.
And when you are young, you don't understand your full capabilities, full skill set, and what you actually enjoy. So I believe when you're young and you're starting the startup, do not put your whole all your hopes and all your aspirations into it. It is
Yeah.
okay if it fails, and if it's okay, because you will get to learn a lot about yourself,
Mhm.
which will help you a lot in your career coming ahead,
Yeah.
rather than thinking about, I mean, scaring of failure. I personally, I don't have a really good risk appetite, to be honest. I mean, a while back, uh, I switched, I mean, not switched,
Mhm.
I was working with this company and I got so bored, I just left them. And I thought I'll go with freelancing, and I was doing freelancing. I was getting a lot of good clients, but somewhere down the line I realized, okay, I'm not making a lot of money, and as you mentioned, now I have a lifestyle which I cannot just drop
Yeah.
just because I'm not making enough money. And I honestly, I had a really good savings which saved
Mhm.
me through. So for 6 months I was freelancing, and I did not have any salary pay, and it
Mhm.
was really difficult for me. So I switched back to the employee setup again, and now I'm a working employee, and I always welcome client work as well.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm working right now, and it was a really good learning for me that it's not my time to leave job and
Mhm.
start focusing on freelancing entirely. I need to build that connection which I don't have. I mean, I'm reaching out to people, but it's taking me a lot of time to close them, sometimes 1 month or 2 months.
Right.
And for 2 months I'm just in that aspiration that I'll close this client and make some money out of them. And
Mhm.
even the clients that I have, they are not recurring. They sometimes work with me and then ghost me for 2-3 weeks and then come back
Exactly.
again. So it was, I mean, it was really difficult for me to understand what would be my pay for this month so that I can manage
Mhm.
my expenses. So after doing all these calculation, I realized, okay, I need to take a step back. I need to go back to my previous setup and then work around these things. So
Right.
I think it's the same for rest of the people as well. It's
Uh,
okay to fail, I guess.
yeah, that's right. I mean, you won't immediately find out what you want to do in your life, and
Mhm.
especially as much as you can try, that really helps. For example, taking again an example of Ankur Wariku, he found out what he wants to do. I think in when he was 35 or something.
Yeah. One final question and then I'll let you go, Nikhil.
Yeah.
I want to, I mean, you're I'll not call a serial entrepreneur, but you have launched multiple startups. So what was your journey when your first startup you had to shut it down? What was your emotional stage? Financially, how were you doing? Because I'm sure you would have a team to answer to.
Yeah.
So what was your thought at that time?
So that's a difficult one. uh, so, uh, going back, so I shut my previous startup in 2019 end, obviously because we didn't have a runway, and some due to some external factors, we had to shut it down. Uh, so it was a government tech, right? So government came out with their own tech. So people didn't need our services anymore. So apart from that, I didn't take salary for 1 year prior to shutting down. So let me give you so we started in 2017 and 2018 was full. I mean, it was full time running 2019 and we shut it down. So 2018, I didn't take any salary. Uh, I lived off my savings, my credit cards. So I maxed out all my credit cards, not for buying lavish things, but to survive and to kind of keep my startup running. I used to pay for ads through my credit cards, and all those things were there. I was in a huge. I think I was what 24 or 25. I'm bad with that age calculation thing, but being 24 or 25, I was in debt of 11 or 12 lakhs when I shut it down. Now, even if I had got a job of 12 lakhs per annum, it would take me at least 2 years, considering because I have my own my own cost of living, and all those things. So, coming to the more of the startup side, announcing that we are shutting down, that's really difficult. Uh, in fact, I had to delay salary for I think 1 month. I started receiving uh, threat messages from employees that will file a police complaint or something, because basically I was asking more time for to pay that salary, because so my plan was to get a job as soon as possible. And usually I get high paying jobs. So I'm not bragging, just that was my experience. So I thought from my first or second salary, I'll just pay it off. Uh, so I started receiving those kind of messages. So I took help from one of my relatives. A lot of people actually helped me that time. Like my mama, and then my cousin Ankit. So he helped me a lot, and we somehow paid the salary. And apart now, once the salary was paid, it's like now people are not going to. So you are now only in debt of your known people and banks basically. So in those terms, banks are also really bad. If you don't pay on time and everything. So I have received all kinds of calls and everything. I could not, so I had to refund a lot of money to the customers as well, because when we announced the shutdown, the whole customer support team, the operational team kind of stopped coming to the office. When we were shutting down, my plan was somehow we'll complete all those customer cases, and then we'll shut it down. Basically, we won't accept any new orders. So I had to refund the previous customers as well. So some people started calling fraud and all those things. Uh, Luckily, I paid everything, and with the help of my job. So I didn't have a lot of time to uh, to kind of what I'm forgetting उसका शौक मनाने का. I didn't have that time. I had to get in a job as soon as possible. But slowly it starts hitting you. Now you are on the other side of the table. You used to take job interviews. Now you are giving one, right? I think after completely leaving our offices and everything, I just slept for a week. I used to get up, eat, not out of not out of satisfaction or anything. Just I wanted to escape that reality that this has happened. So slowly you start accepting things. You have to. Good thing is how quickly you pick yourself up, right? So that is really important. So it was a very bad ending experience, but like Steve Jobs says, right? You connect the dots backward. So that actually helped. So now when I see, it gave a lot of good experience in terms of managing people, managing life, managing things, and that is always respected in terms of wherever I join as an employee. That he has been an ex-entrepreneur. He knows how to get things done.
Yeah.
So that is respected.
Yeah, and surviving that phase where everyone is making you believe that you're not, I mean, you have not just failed a startup, your own startup where you put your mind, your soul, your blood,
Yeah.
your tears, everything,
Yeah.
but also having these people who have been working for you, your clients, who expect some result out of you, and letting them not down, but I mean, letting them know that okay, this is going to end, and we all have to accept it in one way or another. And then starting another job, and I mean, not getting that time to I mean, you, as you mentioned, you did not have time to mourn
Yeah.
mourn the
Yeah.
loss.
Yeah.
Rather, you went on going get another job and get busy yourself. I mean, that is also one way of dealing with your problems, is you get yourself busy
Yeah.
and focus somewhere else, so that you don't end up like spending your days crying or however you process your pain. So yeah, I mean, I really respect that, and I'm really glad you survived that phase, and I'm sure you might have learned a lot from that, because I cannot imagine going through that phase. But I'm glad you also had people supporting you. If you invest in people, you will always succeed in everything, and they will always there to back you. So crypto investment, stock investment, do that, but also invest
Yeah.
in people.
Yeah, exactly. Build relationships.
Yeah.
And the startup thing is also like just to add, if any entrepreneur is listening or any, whoever wants to start something, if you fail, it's just like a, relationship wala breakup. Time will heal everything. So give yourself some time and figure things out, and it will actually help you deciding your next partner. So same, like you will, be more cautious and more mindful about choosing your next journey.
Yeah.
If you start something again.
Great. I mean, I have an episode where we compared our job and relationship with one of my
Yeah,
speakers.
I've heard that. Yeah.
That brings us to the end of our episode, Nikhil. It was really amazing having this conversation with you.